On this episode of Soup and Stuff, Soup sits down with Adam Payne, the editor-in-chief and co-founder of YNST Media. Adam and his team are on a mission to portray home with a contemporary and colorful lens by capturing the region's most vital storytellers, unique designers, impactful photographers, dynamic artists, and underrepresented perspectives. Start seeing things with You're Not Seeing Things. Welcome to Soup and Stuff.
So tell me this, did you go to school for business?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. I went to school for acting and journalism for undergrad, and then I got my master's in digital marketing. So you have the marketing background. Yeah, but I was working the whole time I was there as a little videographer, and then as the whole head of the marketing team for the Launch Lab, where Dr. Carrie White worked and helped small businesses create their branding, do photography, videography for them. And through that, I just sort of got immersed in the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
And I think if I didn't work there, I would have never started a business.
Was it Carrie and Tara the whole way that kind of pushed you to go do all of it? Or did you have other mentors that were?
Not Tara so much, because I didn't meet her until later on. And she was kind of just instrumental as we were working on the business plan competition. But Carrie was very quickly best boss I've ever had, best mentor ever.
Yeah.
And then we have another business advisor named Anne, who just is also remarkable,
Wow.
has amazing business advice. I mean, we had a slew of different people that worked there as business advisors that were my bosses, but we had so much freedom there that I was basically we were working on the same level. But apart from that, no. I mean, my team with the magazine started as a club, a student magazine at WVU, and then we ran that for 5 years, and then
boom,
when we all graduated, we were let's start over and make something serious.
Wow.
And, an actual publication.
How cool is that? So I always think the coolest thing is for all of you that went to WVU, the amount of resources that you have to excel in whatever you want to do is unbelievable.
A ton. Yeah.
And it's just, especially with you, what you're getting to do right now, the people you've gotten to meet while you're in school and then get to just push everything forward now is it's cheating.
Yeah. I mean, I feel also so many people, there's so much that some people just don't even know that something exists until you're about to graduate.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over. I missed all this.
Holy moly, man.
But
how cool.
Honestly, I think about my trajectory of my life sometimes, and I'm okay, I made a short film for fun when I was a freshman, had never made anything really before. And the president of the film club was they're hiring a videographer at this place called the Launch Lab. It's new. It's for people that start businesses. I think you should do it. And I was I really shouldn't be a videographer. I've made one video.
Yeah.
And he recommended me for it, and I got the job. And if I didn't make that one short film my freshman year, I would not be at this stage of my life literally at all, because then I started working there, worked there for 5 years, felt enabled to make a business, met Carrie,
holy moly, man.
And I need to write him a letter or something, be you changed my life.
Well, I guess we should properly introduce Mr. Adam Payne. I guess I'm going to try to go through all your titles, and you're going to have to correct me. Let's go with co-founder, CEO, maybe, sure. Editor-in-chief of You're Not Seeing Things. It's one of the coolest things that we've gotten to see grow around this area, and now it's just blowing up. So can you tell me, sell us and everyone else that listens right now on You're Not Seeing Things?
Sure. So YNST, You're Not Seeing Things magazine. We're an arts and culture publication all about amplifying the side of West Virginia and Appalachia that I feel doesn't get represented enough. All of the amazing creatives that we have here, and we're trying to broadcast and amplify them while simultaneously fighting against so much of the negative media that is often attached to our region.
Yeah, absolutely.
By creating something that's, vastly positive, creative, cool, and something that when you first look at it, it doesn't feel like a travel magazine. It doesn't feel like a West Virginia publication. It just is cool because it's cool. And these people were already here. We're just sort of helping to give a spotlight and a platform to them.
Do you guys kind of, when you're having these marketing talks and you're talking about what places you're going to attack to get your magazines into, is there a vibe in in a certain type of business or bar or library that you're going after, or are you just trying to get it in everywhere?
Well, I mean, trying to get it in everywhere, but I think what we're doing like vastly appeals to a younger demographic. So we and a contemporary, like cool, creative, like the college coffee shop attendee, is kind of our target demographic. So we kind of can tell when we go into a space, like if they have art on the walls that are from artists we recognize, or like if we have, they have this person's stickers up the counter, like this person's postcards, they're probably going to be interested in the magazine. Honestly, like as we were looking, we were like, okay, they have Logan Schmidt, they have Seth, they have Liz Pavlovic, which are like 3 artists that are in every single store that YNST is in, literally. We would just be like, okay, that's another that one we have to go check out. But it's been a lot of in-person sales.
I cannot imagine.
We took a road trip over the summer where we literally were going into businesses with a pamphlet and the magazine and saying, hi, here's what we're doing. We would love to be in your store.
Yeah.
And that was like, I would say 80% of our traction.
So when you go into these places and you say, hey, here's what we do, we want to get this issue into your store. How are they benefiting from it, from having you guys in there and having YNST as a partner in all these places?
Well, they get part of the sales. So they get the financial benefit of having it in there. But I also just think it's like a great add-on for when it's inexpensive. It's $6 to get a magazine, but it's like having it right there at the register. It's like the perfect little add-on when you're checking out. Like, if you grab a coffee, it's the same price as a coffee. It's like getting a second one. But I think what we're trying to do is create something that is it's not intangible. It's a print publication. Like it's something that you can keep and save and serves as like a coffee table book rather than like you read it once and throw it away.
I thought the coolest thing was when we were down at Waterfront the other day, which is a new beautiful building right on the waterfront in Wheeling. Beautiful. And you're sitting there. It's the perfect vibe of how I picture where your guys' magazines are going to be all over the country, right? So you walk in, the bar is like kind of rustic a little bit, like your magazine. I think is it the summer issue and the fall issue that were sitting there on top of each other?
I just got an email like 2 weeks ago that Waterfront Hall, like the business, subscribed to the magazine. So I was like, cool. Oh, awesome. So they're going to get all of them just to have out to read. So they're not, I thought that was cool too. Is like some businesses are just getting them to sort of have like in their waiting area, a couple salons and a couple different coffee shops don't want to sell them. They want to buy them just to have like out for people to read and experience.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Like, wow. That's so sick.
But yeah, the first one they had in there, like before I even knew anything about the new Waterfront Hall, they just like bought it somewhere else and put it in there, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
So what would you say has been like the most challenging part of all of it so far?
All of it?
All of it? No. I definitely am intimidated by the money side of things. I think like being a more creative minded person versus a business minded person, it can be really scary to be like, okay, I'm now in charge of paying people and making sure we can print and making sure that we, are sustainable as a company. And I have the beautiful benefit of like working with the Launch Lab and feeling enabled to know about like these pitch competitions, which I know you guys are doing as well. But we did 4 or 5 different pitch competitions like right before we had even printed the first one to help us sort of offset that cost and
get off the ground. Absolutely.
Not start this in the hole. But I think that's definitely been the challenging part is I'm like, I don't know how to manage finances or do taxes or like every waking minute I'm like, I'm probably committing tax. But it's been vastly even when it's stressful and like we're working on deadlines, it's vastly been really fun.
How many issues have you printed now?
We just released the second one in November. We're already starting to work on the third one.
Holy moly.
It feels like we've been doing it forever, but we just printed the first one in June, even though we had been like kind of working on it, securing finances from November of the year before. So it feels like we've been doing it for a while, but really we're just 2 issues deep. And then the third one will come out in March of next year.
Ideally, are you looking at, let's just say 2024 goes as planned. Are you looking at 1 per quarter?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we're going to go with the seasons, March, June, September, and December.
Nice.
For next year.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. But since we started in the middle of the year with June, we just did June and November for this year. And then next year, now that we have subscribers now. We got to do it. I'm kind of like, okay, guys, we have a set schedule now or else we screwed all these people over.
So four main issues going out throughout the year. What are you doing in between those months to make sure people that are following you guys and really are interested are getting good content coming back to them and saying, wow, this is interesting, this is cool, stuff like that?
I mean, we just hired a social media intern, Grace, if you're listening, which is very exciting. That was part of our ask when we participated in the show of hands, which I know you guys won as well. But we needed someone that their whole job is kind of like keeping your pulse on what's happening outside of the magazine. Because I think we have great content, but then it's like, once you get it in the publication, you don't want to just be like rehashing everything that's in the magazine. So we're really lucky in that for the last one, we had, I think, almost 200 submissions of people wanting to submit their art, photography, writing, fashion, anything for the issue. And for this next one, we haven't even had an open call yet, and we're up to like 30 submissions just from our website, which is great, which is wonderful. But it's also giving us like a wealth of content to just have on the website and just have on social media that isn't necessarily going to print. So I think that it's kind of like the way that we're going to keep going.
Tell me about your team, because I tried to rattle off your titles. I still don't. How did it start with, was it your idea, and kind of who's making the decisions at the top right now with you?
So I have a team of 6 of us that have been working pretty much on everything together. And we've sort of delegated like the creative team, the editorial team, which is like more of the editing and like the actual organizational side, and then the business team, making like the financial decisions and advertising and all of that. But we all met in college running a student magazine called Mirage. I joined when I was a freshman, and then I think 4 of the people on the team joined the year after when they were freshmen, so they're a year younger than me. But we just like fell in love with this medium and started working on it like all the time. It was just an extracurricular activity, and we would put out 2 issues a year, like 1 per semester. And then as we all were graduating at the same time, because I chose to do my master's, and we were on our little like school trip, and we were all like very sad. We were like, I really don't want to let this go. And then we kind of were like, oh, well, we don't have to if we don't want to. So we decided to start over, but we wanted it to be completely like its own thing. Didn't want to steal their thunder, because that magazine's still going. It's still great. They just released their like 15th issue, I think. But we kind of naturally just took on similar roles to what we had in the organization. But like, I was the creative director of Mirage, but I was like, I feel like I'm wanting to do more of like the business control,
definitely,
in like editorial control. So I am now the editor in chief. And then we have Casey, who's our executive director. She does a lot of the business work. Olivia is our creative director, and she's like just a mastermind of design and helping with all of the like content ideas. Joseph's the visual director. He's a whiz with photography and also helping out with all of the visual content going in the magazine. And then Annika's our editorial director, and she does amazing like editing. And then we send it off to 2 other copy editors that we just got on the team. And then Savannah's our creative coordinator, and she's just like coming up with the content ideas and sourcing art and stuff. So
what a team.
It's crazy. It's crazy to like do a startup and be like, I'm gonna start with 6 employees, which is like made it also kind of like a lot sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
But it, for all the right reasons, it's been great.
So let's just say the one that's going to come out in March, let's just say someone comes to you, a new artist out of, I don't know, let's just say somewhere in Kentucky. You guys are like, no brainer, this person has to be in there. What's the process look like to get them on? Is it both pages? Is it on a singular page? Kind of what's all that look like?
Honestly, we try to fit as much as possible. So sometimes it's like we have 3 or 4 people's art on one page, but have it be sort of like a living, breathing art gallery, but just on paper. You know, we're trying to replicate like what it would feel like in a museum or like in a gallery, but being on the page. So we just have everyone like fill out this little submission form on our website, and then we made an entire like ballot system, because we were like, okay, I don't want to, it's intimidating to be like, okay, I'm the one that decides if this is good or not, you know? So we kind of came up with like a ranking system and like a way to determine what we think
Definitely
would be best. And it's also like if someone is doing it and is like actively selling their work or like is in galleries all the time, I'm like more wanting to support them because they're like pursuing it art.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like they are an artist. They're wanting to do this full time. But anyway, I mean, we just sort of have been determining it that way, is like putting it into that system and then ranking everything based on a number of different factors like career and how this speaks to our audience and the theme of the sort of different issues. We don't have necessarily like strict themes, but we're kind of going for like a general vibe.
Because when I was flipping through it the other day at the waterfront, I feel like each page caught my eye. Every time I flip, you know what I mean? It's like I didn't want to take my eye off it, but still there was a vibe to it. You know what I mean? All the colors were different, but every time I flipped the page, I was locked back in, and it reminded me of the last page. You know what I mean? It's really, really, really cool how it's able to be set up like that. And man, you guys are working hard. That is awesome.
We're trying.
What does 2024 look like? 25? What is the next step that you're kind of trying to achieve now?
Well, on tomorrow, so Friday, December 22nd, I don't know when this is going out, but we helped curate an in-person art gallery, which is happening in Fairmont. One of the artists from issue 2 reached out to us and he was like, I just bought this new gallery space and I would love if you guys could help like me curate it, the theme, like pick the art that goes in it. So moving beyond just the print magazine and moving into a real in-person event. Mm-hmm. So this is the first one that we've done, and then just left a meeting with Wheeling Heritage. They want to do the same thing in May. So I'm hoping that this is sort of our step forward is, you know, we now have the established brand of like, this is what we're doing, but now we can sort of take it off the page, off of the screens and in person. So we just really want to create more opportunities for artists and create more gallery spaces, create more performance opportunities. I'm an actor. Like I've never been a painter or anything, but I really just am passionate about creating more opportunities in West Virginia. So, more gallery spaces, more events like that. And then we have some schemes in the works. And part of the reason we are going to be doing these competitions again in the spring is to try to sort of enter the retail world a bit more than being in businesses. Maybe we're more of the business art.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I think
keeping that vague intentionally.
From the outside looking in, like the vision that I see that I think would be so cool is when you guys are able to keep growing 3 years, 5 years down the road, these new artists, these new, anyone that's in the art world, in the back of their head, if they're from this area or any region, they're thinking, wow, it'd be cool to get into the next YNST.
That's my dream.
You know what I mean?
My dream is like, I want us to be like the destination.
You know what I mean? And that's, I feel like
where
that's
they're
not,
like, this is the one.
Exactly.
Like, we're having a
chills, Soup.
I have a tear in my eye.
Yeah,
but it's like, we have, I don't know. That's my dream and my like hope in the future is like, we have an event going on. We know that they're the place to go to promote it. I want to publish my art. I want to have this to put on my resume. I want us to be like the spot to do it. And what I've found is like, we've been working with a lot of like fresh out of college folks, and we're giving people their first publishing opportunity. Like they're writing an article. We are their first time being published in print. Or some of these artists that are in this gallery, this is the first gallery space. And I'm like, that's a big freaking deal for these people.
Huge.
And it's like, they're getting paid for their work. They're getting an actual gallery space. It's not just talk. Like we're actually helping them get these things for the first time. And that is every time it makes me want to cry. I just love it. It's like, one girl I went to high school with, she applied for this gallery in Fairmont and she got in and she was like, this is my first time. And she's been promoting it so heavy on social media. I'm like, this is a big deal for someone like that to get in their first space.
I mean, and you know how important word of mouth is but from a marketing aspect, I think it is so cool that let's just say you get one person from the middle of Ohio. That's a beautiful painter, right? Now that one person, every time they put something new out, they're saying, hey, I was an issue, blah, blah, blah from YNST.
Yeah, like,
you know
I was there when they first.
Exactly. 1 turns to 5, and then 5 turns to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40. And before you know it, now 100 people have came back to look at their art or whatever issue they were in.
So much of our marketing has been word of mouth. Like, we have a marketing budget right now of like $0. Like, we have been fully just relying on like every time we get in a new store, the store reposts it. Every time a new artist gets in the magazine, they repost it. Yeah. And just naturally sort of growing that way has been huge for us.
Definitely.
Also like doing the Bridging Innovation Week last year, like so many of these like bigger business heads in the state kind of are like recognize the magazine out in the wild,
out in the wild.
Is great. And so they'll make comments sometimes, and I'm like, this is so cool that you know what this is just because of word of mouth.
Yeah,
really.
Definitely. What's a normal week look like right now? Kind of going in. I know it's the holiday season, but what's it going to look like in 2024 when you have one coming out in March? What's a normal week going to look like for all of you?
It's funny you said that because I literally was like, today is my last day of doing work and I'm done for the new year. Well, tomorrow after the event, but
and then Monday, maybe a little bit on Christmas.
Maybe a little bit. But really, I think. Well, I didn't mention this aspect. We've also started like doing some marketing work for clients. We have been doing the marketing for West Virginia Public Theater. They took us on as their sort of like marketing team.
Yeah.
My former professor reached out to us and was like, hey, would you be interested in helping out with the marketing? And I was like, well, I have a whole business now if you want to just hire us as a collective and I can handle all of the decisions that you were like stressed out about.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So never thought that we would be kind of an agency, but I think that is the direction that I think we're
It's just another tunnel that you're able to.
Another tunnel. But I think in 2024, I can see us taking on like 3 or 4 more clients, and that is taking up a good chunk of the week, in a good way. Like it's not hard work. It's something that I love doing, especially because I'm marketing for theater. But typical week is just a ton of like editorial work, like working on content, working on the stories, editing, photography, art, all of that sort of in preparation for the issues. Takes a while to get, all of these different content ideas actually streamlined, finalizing the articles, getting them edited. That is probably like the biggest bulk of when we're in crunch time. It's nice now that like the issue's only been out for 2 or 3 weeks. We haven't even really started on issue 3 because we're in like promo mode. So it's kind of a down time. But still, it's been a lot of client work with public theater and then keeping up our social media and then a ton of just like opportunities like this. I feel like I've been doing a lot of just connecting with other organizations. There's so many different business organizations and so many different arts organizations that are all kind of sometimes doing similar things.
It's awesome.
Because they don't know about each other. And
awesome.
I'm like, we need to all just be working together.
Yeah.
Like it would double our reach by working together.
It's awesome. It's really, really cool. I thought it was awesome that, so you're the first issue and then the second issue, how many pages were those?
The first one is 56 and the second one is 64.
Are you looking to kind of go above that, or is that 50 to 70 range really like advantageous for all of you for time and effort that you got to put in? What's that look like?
Well, I really liked doing the 64 versus the 56 because we had like 8 more pages to play. Is that right? Yeah. Like a little bit
Quick
more,
math.
a little bit more wiggle room to play with. But I will say the thing that I've learned to nerd out a little bit about the printing industry is like the weight of paper and the weight and the page count makes a huge difference with the cost.
Yeah.
So like the printing cost is one thing, but then you wouldn't believe how expensive it is to mail magazines. For one magazine, it's $3
to mail it out,
to ship it. Yeah,
is that anywhere in the country or?
Yeah, anywhere in the country. $3 flat rate for just the way that we're doing it now.
Yeah,
I mean, once we increase our circulation, you can have it shipped right from the printer.
Yeah,
and like have all those orders set, which I think will move in that direction hopefully soon. But like right now, wouldn't make sense. It's like $3, but we added these 8 pages. Now it's $3.30. I'm like, oh my God, is it really that big of a difference? But they're so much heavier than you think they are. Like one magazine does not feel heavy, but you put 60 in a box and I'm breaking my spine trying to bring them up the stairs. But yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. We'll have to, we could lower the paper weight. We could change the ink. Yeah, there's so many things that like, the other magazine we had run in college was a digital magazine. Yeah. So we're learning the print world kind of all for the first time. Like, when I went to the printer the first time, she was like, so all of your photos are like the wrong format, which is fine. Like I'll fix them all. Like we can do that. But there's just so much that I like,
stuff you didn't think
no
about.
one really tells you
Definitely.
any of this stuff. But I'm sure it's similar for you guys. It's like everything you're learning for the first time.
And it's
like,
so awesome. We working with Carrie and Tara and Cooley can elaborate to this, and so can all the other guys. We kind of did it completely backwards, where we started a business not knowing we did, had a blast for a year and a half, and then it was like,
it's like, oh man, we could do something with
yeah, it was like, wait a second, we can make money doing this.
Yeah.
And then we got help from them and help from other people like the Wheeling Heritage and Carrie and Tara and E3 now, and just so many resources that are willing to help just to see other people grow. And I just hope we're in a position and you will be too one day to give back and help the next person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
think that's going to be so cool.
Well, I'm interested, flipping the interview very fast. How has that transition been for you guys? Like, what are sort of the business side and like the business opportunities that you guys have been like, okay, we should go like full in with business now? Like,
Go ahead,
like,
Cool.
advertising and like,
We think that it's just really, I think there's just so many tunnels you can go down. And I think the cool thing that's really helped us is that it was just a podcast. You know what I mean? One singular podcast, 1 hour a week, and then one podcast turned to 3, and then we got on the radio for 7 hours a week. So now we have those 2, and then merchandise, and then live events,
then a beer,
then the beer, and then
I forgot about the beer.
yeah, and then gambling stuff, and now it's like there was 1 tunnel for profit.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 8 tunnels for profit.
Yeah, like originally we started out as the Pound Room podcast, now with the Pound Room Studios, because we realized there's so many different tunnels that we can go down now.
And the coolest thing too is, and I know you can relate to this, every day is different, and it's a new idea and a new opportunity to be creative, and it's sick.
I feel like every week I'm like, all right, well, here's a new thing we're gonna try doing as well. Do you ever feel like overwhelmed by how much you've grown, or are you just like, no, this feels natural?
I think it's fun because I think you know that pressure is a privilege, and I think anytime that we get a bunch of stuff thrown at us, it's like, okay, how can we handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Anytime I get like extremely stressed out, I'm like, I'm not making like medicine. You know what I mean? I'm not saving lives. It's a magazine. Like this is something you love, and you're stressed out about it because you care a lot. And I feel like
do you feel this too when you go into sell with your magazine and everything, that you're not selling, you're just talking about how exciting everything is and how passionate you are about your brand? That's how it is with us, and
I know.
we don't.
Sometimes people will be like, what's the most rewarding part of the journey so far? And I will always say, like, that first trip that we took, we were doing those in-person sales, and the second one, but just the amount of people that I said the mission to. It's like showcasing arts and culture in Appalachia, and in a way that hasn't been really represented in this way. The amount of people that just instantly got it because they have the lived experience. I think if you live in West Virginia, like, you know the stereotypes, you know the negative perception that people have about our region, and like hearing, I don't know, the amount of people that just were like, yes. I mean, someone literally was like, I've been waiting for someone to walk through this door and say this to me.
That's so
and I
cool.
was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of my favorite things to hear and to see is when people are like, oh, this hasn't happened yet here. And it's like, we come from such an incredible tri-state area. How has that not been done yet?
Right.
And it's really cool to see everything expand. So you got anything else, Cools?
No, I mean, we did a great job, man. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You're incredible. Keep going. We're going to follow the whole way. We're here to support, and we can't wait to keep doing stuff like this. So we appreciate you, Adam.
Indie media forever.
Yes. All right, man. Take care. We appreciate it.
Bye.